Hi everyone, so we're here on our our last video for the box. Ooh, this will be fun. We're going to be talking about decorating it in Inkscape. Before we can get it there though, we need to create what's called a DXF file of it, showing all the cut lines, and then in Inkscape we can start decorating some stuff. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that my flattened bodies, let's see, my flattened component right here is the active component. And then I'm going to go to the top view of it. And my top view right now shows it as sideways. It can be vertical, sideways, whichever way it is for you. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to need to be able to measure one side of it. What you want to make sure is, check this out. When I take my measurement, I don't want to use this sideways measurement. Here's why. See this little piece that pops out a little bit? I would need to know the total length of one side. This one's a cleaner side because this line up here is clearly higher and this one is clearly the lowest line. So I'm going to do mine from this side to this side, not from left to right. If I did it left to right and I measure the distance from here to here, when I go to resize it in Inkscape's going to resize it from this right here, the total width from this side out here to wherever is parallel with this side. So I have to just be really careful what I grab is really the tallest and shortest point, or the highest and lowest point, or whatever, however you want to call it. All right, before I can do that though, let me jump right into making a DXF file. So I'm going to create a sketch, making sure that my flattened component is the active component. That way it creates the sketch in this component. If I had this up here on, when I created the sketch, it would put it in this sketch folder, and it would be hard to find because I already have tons of sketches. So what I want to do is make sure my flattened one is the active component. And then I'm going to come up here to create a sketch. And I'm going to click on this main base one. Doesn't matter which one you click on, it just, whichever one you click on, you don't have to then do a projection of. So I clicked on this one to start with. And now what I'm going to do is just create a projection, which is the letter P, of all the different things. So I'm going to do this one. I'm just going to select them all one at a time, and I'm just going to take my time. Fast clicking is oftentimes slower because you make mistakes. I don't want to click on this one because I've already included it by starting the sketch there. And this one. And then I do all of these as well. This one, this one, this one, this one. Again, I'm taking my time on clicking, so I'm clicking carefully. And that's all of them. So all of them, including the base. Yep, I got them all. And I'm going to click OK for my 20 objects. It might take a second. Yep, there it goes. It just made all those things. So all those purple dots are like the corners of all the different turns. I'm not sure why it shows up so boldly like that, but it does. Now I'm going to go look at my sketch folder. So now I have a sketch folder in my flattened one. I'm going to hide my bodies real quick, or collapse my body folder. And I'm going to open this one up and go sketch one. And yep, you can see if I turn that off, all those little dots go away. So that's the right sketch. So we're in the right place. I'm going to turn my bodies off real quick. And I can see I just have a sketch now. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this one to flattened. E-N-E-D. Okay. Whoop, didn't take. Oh, maybe it did. Maybe it's taking a second. There it goes. It's just taking a second. Okay, now I have my sketch. I need to convert this sketch into what's called a DXF file, which is just all the cutout lines. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say save as DXF. And actually I'm going to cancel this because I actually want to, in the file name, I want to put this next number. I'm going to measure a dimension. I need an overall length. So here's how I'm going to measure it. I'm going to go from left to right, because I feel like I can get a really good left and right on there. So I'm going to go up here to my measure tool. I'm going to click on this line and this outside line. So I zoomed in so I can see what I'm doing for sure. And that distance is 44.0 centimeters. It should show up on the, there it is. 44.0 centimeters is where it shows up for me. So now I'm going to include that in my file name when I do this DXF file. Now, one thing to be careful of If I was going to go in the other direction, I was going to go the up-down direction on this particular drawing, I'd want to choose down here at the bottom. And let me see how this works actually. So I'm going to restart selection. I'm going to say, hey, I want to go from this line. And I want to measure the distance from that line to, I don't know, let's say this line. Yeah, so there's the problem. It's not really measuring, it's measuring the distance to them. See how it's a diagonal line? We really need a straight up and down line. So I wouldn't want to use this side because I ended up putting this one a little too far out. What I could do is scooch all these three over so that this was the farthest point. Then I could go do it. But I'm not going to do it that way. I already have my number, so I'm good. So back over here, I'm going to right click on my flattened sketch. I'm going to save as DXF, and I'm going to call this flattened marble maze. And then in parentheses, I'm going to do 44.00. That's my measurement I need, so in case I come back to this later on, I'll be able to have it. And I'm going to save that into my Marble Maze folder. You can save it to wherever's convenient. For working with Inkscape, probably the best place to put it is in your desktop or into your downloads folder. I think both of those show up as a potential place to grab it from. Desktop is probably the easiest. Save it there. Okay, so that's all done. I am going to close Fusion. I have everything I need. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to save it. And now I'm going to open up Inkscape. There we go, Inkscape. I'm going to show you a new technique for bringing in a DXF file that brings in a little cleaner. It shows up a little better this way. Okay, I think I just opened the second copy of it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just come up here and go File, Document Properties, and I'm going to set my document properties, units to millimeters, or sorry, centimeters, and I'm going to do a width of 60 because that's how wide our cutting bed is in the laser cutter, and a height of 30, although 29.7 we find too. I'm going to hit Enter. Now I'm going to come here to the snaps. And what this is not like when you get two objects close together, they kind of snap together. The corners will snap together. I'm going to make that happen only when I'm super close to them. So I'm going to drag it all the way down near the bottom here. And that way they won't snap until they get really close. Because usually when they're really far apart, they just snap together. And it's hard to position stuff. So I'm going to say that. I'm going to say OK and close that. So that was page, the page width and page height. And then on the snap tab up here, I changed the snap to being small numbers. Okay. And now I'm going to go here, instead of File, Import, which we have been doing. Oh, I shouldn't have done that just that way. I'm going to go to Open instead. And I shouldn't have done the document properties because I'm actually open a new folder or a new file. I'm going to come here, I'm going to pick up my Marble Maze and flattened Marble Maze. And I'm going to make sure it says read from file, so it's reading the scale from the file. And then all of these, just leave them alone and click OK. And unfortunately, it's going to open up a new file. I'm going to have to redo that snap and the document properties page as well. So there's the new file that just opened up. And you can see, I'm going to zoom out real quick. It brought in my drawing there. And I can see that the thing I measured was from this side to this side. So I'm going to adjust the width in just a second. In fact, let's just go ahead and do that now while it's on our mind. So it came in. So now it's come in as separate pieces. Check this out. So if I move this, it leaves all the holes behind. So I'm going to Control Z. So I got to fix some of this first. Let's do this. Zoom out a little bit where you can see the whole thing. And then you're going to highlight, drag a box around everything, and just do Control G for group. That'll group it together as one big group. And now what we can do, oh, I already messed it up. I accidentally rotated, see how I rotated the page earlier? And now I got to get it back to there. Now that, yep. Okay, that's back where it should be. Now I'm going to highlight everything. And I'm going to Control G, that'll group it together. And now I want to do the width to be exactly 44, because right now the width is in pixels. So I'm going to change this over to centimeters. And right now it thinks it's 111 centimeters wide. I don't want that. I want it to be only 44. And I can see right here, there's my number in the top left-hand corner up here is 44 is my number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock these together. So when I shrink the width, the height shrinks with it. And I'm going to say, hey, I want this one to be 44.00. Enter. Boom. Done. Perfect. But I can't see it now only because I'm so zoomed out. The lines are so thin that I couldn't see them from out here. Right. So once I get out here, I can't see them. Just zoom in and you can see them. I'm going to drag this around where the page was. Let's see. Now I got there it is. So there's the overall page. You can see it's still pretty good sized. I made the biggest maze I could. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here to File, Document Properties, I should say. And I'm going to do what I did before. So I'm going to change pixels into centimeters. And I'm going to do here 60 wide, 30 tall, enter. I'm going to go to the snaps. I'm going to turn the snaps low. All three of them, I'm going to turn them low. And now I've got to do some hard work. So I'm going to Control Shift and G. That ungroups. Or I can go here to Object and I could come down here to Ungroup right here. Okay. Now what I need to do is I need to group them together so that they, oh, you know what? Before I do that, I'm going to Control Z. Okay, that grouped them back together. And what I'm going to do actually before I ungroup them, I'm going to change their color to red. I'm going to do that adjustment right now so it happens to all of them at the same time. So I'm going to do a fill color of 255.00. Remember 253 doesn't work, 240 doesn't work. It's got to be the full 255 color, 00, 100. And then I'm also going to change the stroke. And I'm going to say, hey, instead of pixels here, I'm going to change it to, well, it doesn't matter what it is actually. I'm just going to make it maybe bigger than what it already is. Right now it's about 0.4, so I'm going to do about a 1. Enter. And now you can see how the lines got thicker. You don't have to worry about the thickness because the laser is going to cut right down the middle of the line. So no matter how thick it is, it won't cut a thicker line if you put a thicker red line. It cuts one line right down the red. So that's going to make it easier to see. Even when I zoom out now, you can see I zoom out, I can still see it from really far away. Now I'm going to Control Shift G, go back to ungrouped. Now I need to highlight the ones that need to be grouped. So this piece, I don't want that to happen every time I move it. I want those to be stuck together. So I'm going to Control Z to undo that move. I'm going to draw a box. I'm going to grab up here and click and drag all the way around this one the best I can. And then I'm going to hold down Control and push G to group them. Now when I grab the outside edge of this box and move it, all the little tabs, the little holes move with it. So I'm just going to repeat that for all of them. Right there to there. I got it. Control G. And I'm going to move that. Okay, great. I'm just going to test it out. So now if I don't get the whole thing, so if I go like this, right? And I'm like, oh, look, I don't have the box around the outside one. Then all I need to do is click off of it and try it again. And I think I don't want that big. I'm going to take the outside one first. It's easier to grab the outside ones and work your way in. Right there, Control G. What you might do is something like this. Check this out. I might grab it like this and accidentally grab too much. Notice I didn't grab this outside one, but I did grab these two little ones on the inside. If I do Control G right now, notice how my box got big, and now I just drag those two holes off of that one. If that happens to you, just hit Control Z, Control Z. That'll undo the last two things you did, and then you just have to highlight. I'm gonna go from the outside in again. Just makes life easier. Ooh, and that one knows I didn't grab the outside. So I'm gonna zoom in and get a little closer so I can see what I'm doing better. So right about there. Yep, Control G. I'm gonna grab that one and move it out of the way. And now I can get to this one easily. Control G. I'm just going to keep doing that for all the pieces. This one doesn't need it because it doesn't have any interior holes or anything. That one doesn't need it. That one doesn't. That one doesn't. That one, this one does. Control G. None of those do. This one will. Control G. Got that one. This one definitely will. It has a ton of holes in it. Control G. And this one will as well. Control G. I think that's it. So now I start placing them. So one thing I have to do is I got to make sure I don't leave anything behind. So I just got to keep zooming in and out, checking on stuff. So the first one I'm going to place is this one. And it's going to just barely fit. And then the next one I'm going to place is this one. And those two are going to actually fill up one piece of plywood. All right, so now I've got one filled up. No matter what you do, even an 8x8 maze, you'll probably run out of places to put stuff. So you're going to actually create two files. So what I'm going to do now is hit File, Save As. And I'm going to call this one Marble Maze 1 of... I think I'll need 2, but I'm going to say 1 of 2. I'm going to assume I can get the other rest of them on another piece of plywood. And I'm going to click Save. Right. And now what I need to do is I'm going to, what's the easiest way to do this? I'm going to open a second file. No, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do File, Save As. And I'm going to do this one, Marble Maze 2 of 2. And then click Save. So right now I've got to keep track of where everything is. Right now I'm in the second one, which means these two I don't need anymore because they're going to be in the first one by themselves. So I'm going to delete this one and I'm going to delete this one. This page 2 has to get all the rest of them on here. So now one thing I want to think about is that the plywood has grain that runs from left to right across it. So I really want all my walls to kind of go like with the grain sideways. So see how this one's straight up and down? The grain would run from top to bottom of this wall and from left to right of this wall. And I don't think I want that. I don't think that sounds very nice to me. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to tip this one over on its side. And I'm going to tip this one over on its side. And I'm just going to grab it and drag it down there. I don't want to get it right on the edge. I want to have it a little bit off, because our pieces of plywood are never quite the full size of the cutting bed. And that one, I'm going to put them nice and close together. I'm going to grab this one, nice and close together. And I'm going to grab this one. Now, one thing I did notice is that this one is upside down. Remember that this 2 centimeter part is the top. So I'm actually going to flip this twice. And the reason I do that is because when I go to write stuff on it and do things on it, I want to write and do things right side up, not upside down. All right, sorry about that. I got a phone call. All right. So, and I'm just going to adjust it so it's really up there. I'm going to want to try and get these pretty tight together. There we go. I'm just using the arrow key to do the fine adjustments there. And now the same thing on these. I want these to be so that the tabs are pointing down because that's the down of that wall. So I'm going to just keep doing that until I get it. And I'm going to hit the flip over, rotate twice, and I'm just going to keep rocking and rolling. And now I'm going to start fitting things together. So I'm actually going to, I'm just going to highlight all of these together because they all need to flip twice and flip them twice together. And then all of these need to flip once in the right direction, which I think is that way. Yep. Okay, so now they're all ready to be placed. I can pull them. I'm going to grab these and pull them down over here. And yeah, I'm going to be able to get them all on the onto one more sheet easily. So I'm going to grab this one and drag it. And then about this size will fit in there just right, kind of. Not really, but kind of. And then maybe a small one on the edge here. Maybe not. Let's see what we got for this one. Long one here. And that's about as far down as I'd want to go. I'm not going to try and get all the way to this edge. You could go a little farther if you had a piece, but I'm not going to be able to get another piece in there. And then I'm just going to fill in with all of these. And then now these, I want to save the plywood as best I can. So I think what I'm going to do is run these across this edge, leaving that whole bottom right chunk of plywood left over. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And I'll show you some alignment tricks with these. So I'll need to go down to the next line now. All right, so I'm going to line up all of these top ones on the same line. So that's how I do that. I click on the first one, hold down the shift key so I can select more of them at once. And then I can go up here to the object and align. It's down here on the bottom, align and distribute. And it brings up this looking thing. So there should be something align and distribute over on your right hand side now. I've got them all highlighted. I'm going to say align to top. See the red line? It says align all their tops up with each other. So when I click on that, they all adjust to be just right with each other. And now these three, I'm going to line up with just each other. I'm going to align their top, and then I'm going to use the arrow key while they're still all selected. Oops, so I'm going to click. Oh, can't do that. So I'm going to reselect them. And I'm going to use the arrow key just to move them up. I'm going to get them close because I want to save plywood if I can. And I'm going to do a quick align tool here as well. I'm going to align this one and this one to top. And then I'm going to align, whoops, align this one and this one, align their tops up. And then these three, I'm going to align their tops up. Okay, so all of that is good. Now I just need to decorate stuff. So I got to figure out what's what here. Like I don't know what's what. So this is one of the tricky parts. So I'm going to actually open up Fusion 360 so I can see what is what. It'll just take a second. Oh, it's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. Close that one. That's the right one. Nice. All right. So I'm going to turn my bodies back on, and then I'm going to hide the flattened one because I don't want to see that one. And I'm going to hit home. And no, that's not true. I want to turn my flattened one on. I need to see both of them. And I want to make sure my bodies are turned on as well. I'm going to hit home. And then I want to view this from the left side because this is how I'm going to play it, right? So I want this back wall. So this part's going to get a little tricky really fast. And I'm going to hide this sketch too because I don't want to see all those purple dots and stuff. So I need to find which one this one is. So I'm going to open up my bodies folder and notice that this is my right wall. So this is this wall here. So anything I put on this one, and let's see which one's that. The back wall, left wall. So this is, I'm just going to have to try and figure out which ones are which. Like this wall right here is wall. So I definitely want to put something on this wall right here, which is this one. So let me find out which one this one is actually. I want to put something right there. So I'm going to open up this bodies folder, and I'm going to see that I'm on wall 1. So which one's wall 1? Well, it is in my flattened one. If I come down here to the flattened ones, wall 1 is that one up there. So it's the one that's like long but with just 2 holes in it. So that's what I'm going to do is just figure out where I want to put stuff. Or I'm just going to decorate randomly and see what happens. That's my other option. Just depends on how careful I want to be That's nothing. Close that without saving. There's another one I don't need. I opened up a bunch of them, I guess. And so in page 2 of 2, I'm just going to do a bunch of decorations. I'm going to put text on there. I might go online and find some pictures and do some bitmap traces on it. Just decorate it however you want. You don't need a decoration everywhere, but I want to see at least a couple different images. They can be simple ones too. Like I found some that were just like caution, hole below, or something like that. Or they can just be cute stuff. You can just find a butterfly or a cat or I don't know, whatever stuff you guys want to do, like a football or a baseball or a band, right? So maybe the name of a band or a million different things. So a few things though is that some of you may do this for the first time. The text tool is here. So if you click here, you can start typing text and you can change the type of the font here. So you can make a bunch of different fonts. You can do the font size here, so you can make it bigger or smaller. So I wouldn't worry about changing the spaces between baselines or this. This is the distance between different aspects of it. Spacing between letters, and there's all kinds of cool stuff here that you can play around with to make it just what you want it to be. But I would stay in this cool font, so I could change it to like Boli, whatever that is. And I can do all kinds of fun stuff. Make sure that everything you put on here though is black, because it's going to cut either red, it's going to engrave black and cut red. So make sure it's definitely not red. Also, I had somebody make this mistake too. They accidentally, when they went back and changed their lines to red, they included the letters. Watch this. They put a stroke of red on the letters. And if you do it with a small enough stroke, you don't see it. So let's say I put it on there with a 0.01. Whoops. 0.01. So if I zoom in enough, oh, there you can start seeing it. Ooh, I just did it again. I shifted the, hang on, let me figure out how to do it. I shifted the, nope. Oh gosh dang it. I tipped the page over and sideways again. There it is. Hope I can undo it. Nope, I can't undo it. It is what it is now. But if you see, if I zoom in on this, you can see that stroke. What the laser is going to do, if I zoom out, I can't see it. What the laser is going to do is it's going to engrave all that black and then actually cut the board right around all of this. It's going to be really hard. Now, it's kind of a cool look to see that there's like a missing, like where the letters used to be. Just remember, though, when it cuts the D out, this centerpiece does not stay behind. It's just the piece in the middle of air and falls off. So is the middle of the A. So any middle stuff, you lose it. So it's not actually, it doesn't look very good because you lose all those middle pieces and it looks kind of weird and funky. Also cutting holes there. So make sure that you don't add a stroke color to your letters, to any text or anything else you do. You want to make sure it doesn't have any stroke color to it at all. So I'm going to turn the stroke paint off just by pushing X here. All right, so the rest is kind of up to you. Oh, no, it's not. We have to do the other file still. So this is the page 2 of 2. So you're done decorating all of this. Now we need to go fix page 1 of 1. So file, I'm going to save this. Make sure you save it after you're done with all your edits. And then you're going to go to open. Wait, do we still have it open? We probably still have it open. Nope, except the one. So I'm going to go to file, open, and then I'm going to do page 1 of 2. I'm going to open it. Now this is the page that's going to have our 2 bases on it. So I want to actually just delete all of this because they're all in the other file. That's why we did it this way. And then I'm going to just come out here and delete all this. Good. And then leave this one, just do a file save. And then I'm going to click back over to the other one. So I want page 2 of 2. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. And I'm going to look around to make sure that I didn't leave any pieces. I don't see anything. Yeah, I don't see anything out there. But I just want to make sure that there's not like 3 pieces that were, you know, when I was looking at it at this zoom, they were like off the screen a little bit, and then they wouldn't get cut. Awesome. So this is it. Once you get it all decorated, you got your pictures on there, you got everything going. You know, save it. Oh, do a screenshot of this page. And if you use 2 pages, do a screenshot of the other page. That's your final thing that you have to do. If you then want it to be a physical thing, which is cool to have, you can just send it to me. You can even pick this up next semester or even next year, depending on where you're in school again. You don't need to come pick to the school and pick it up right away. You can just leave it sitting here forever. I'll keep them for you and put them aside for you, and you can come grab them whenever you want. But this will be really cool and fun to have a marble maze like that you totally designed and made yourself. I think it would be, at least. I don't know, maybe I'm a dork. Well, I'm definitely a dork, but all right. So what else do I want to say? I think that was it. Oh, one last thing. 2 of 2. No, we want 1 of 2. On this one where you have a lot of space to get creative. The one thing I would say is, if you carve a bunch of stuff into here, know that when we do the engraving, it actually vaporizes the top layer of plywood away. So whenever you put something, like if I wrote a word across here, the marble's going to fall into that word. So it might actually be even a way to make the maze a little harder. You could do like a line that kind of points from here into that hole. So if they hit that line, they're probably going to get just driven into that hole. So if you make it like, you know, a little bit wide of a black thing or something. So just be careful that when you do that, I wouldn't engrave a bunch of stuff into here. Otherwise, the marble falls into the engravings and it makes it hard to roll it around. But maybe that's one way you can mess with somebody. All right, have fun. Enjoy the final stages of this. And yeah, let me know how it goes.